Pecha Kucha 180, The Batman Who Laughs. So I picked up The Batman Who Laughs, the trade paperback, a while ago from my local comic book store. Basically, because the premise is just a license to print money. What happens when you combine Batman and the Joker into one character? I just said you get the license to print money. So this is part of the Dark Knight's Metal thing, where there's just a bunch of evil Batmen from different realities. And I really don't know what happened with it, but you see the art and then you get interested. So what this book is specifically about is the Batman Who Laughs has traveled into the mainstream Batman continuity, and he's going to fuck shit up for everybody. As soon as I actually read that this is canon, I was like, oh fuck, whatever happens, it's not going to stick. Batman has to win because Batman is DC's license to print money. So how does it start? With Batman, real Batman, investigating the death of Bruce Wayne in a morgue, in a costume. That guy with the goatee is actually Batman wearing a costume. Evil Batman is killing Bruce Waynes from different realities to create some kind of evil bomb that will turn all of Gotham City into lunatics like him. There's also another evil Batman helping the Batman Who Laughs, called the Grim Knight, who is basically Batman who decides to use guns from the start of his career. And he has his story explained within this book as well, which is I'm not going to go into. But this book is full of hot shotting, which is effectively when you do something that's ridiculous that hurts you long term, but it's really cool short term. Basically, the Batman Who Laughs shows up and in the first issue basically kills the Joker. And you're like, what? That's crazy. What happens next? And it's like, well, nothing, because the Joker's dead. And it's like, but he isn't, because of course their Joker is licensed to print money as well. It's a fake guy in his cell, but Joker basically shoots himself with a trick gun. But he's in the Batcave for some reason, and basically his death turns normal Batman into, well, the Batman Who Laughs. His heart gives off this massive Joker toxin that basically turns whoever kills the Joker into a new version of the Joker. It only gets more insane from there. I highly recommend it, but it's nonsense, right? So I watched a tutorial by Mega Mikey, YouTube guy who does hentai stuff, or if he doesn't, he should, because that's clearly how his stuff is marketed. Just on drawing like cute manga faces. So the previous one was the stuff he was doing. I was drawing along. This is what I drew afterwards. Did I learn anything? I don't know. I really don't know. It was fun. It's difficult to know if anything really stuck, but I think I can at least fake a pretty face for manga purposes. My Akuma Smiley show is super duper close to being finished. This is where I was on Monday, but the week's just been a mess. Basically, all I need to add, I think, is shading, light, and the end on the final panel. I'm never going to say spoilers. I watched an interesting tutorial from Mel Milton, who talks about using the lasso fill paint tool in Manga Studio, which I use all the bloody time. And he uses it basically to create 3D forms using different versions of grey shades quickly, and then just carving bits off using erasing with white. Interesting. I should try it out. I also watched someone basically rip textures to make a concept art thing. There is an underdrawing under here, but so much of this is just literally photographs that have been airbrushed. Concept art is a dirty thing, but I also respect that it gets results fast. I was looking at some old pictures of Smiley shows, and I came across a page of Bison images, and on the right I thought, am I better than this now? So I just grabbed a biro and drew a little quick picture of Bison. I feel like I'm a little bit better now than I was in 20XX. The jury's out, but incremental change is the best you could hope for when you don't have an actual action plan. So I did, in one of my lunch breaks at work, manage to pull a one-page Smiley show out of my ass, which is... this is the thing. I could do a Smiley show in half an hour, but it takes me 2 years to do something on Clip Studio Paint when I actually have to make it look good. This is a dichotomy I have to figure out. I also read a really interesting book called Think Small, which I can't really go into this week. I'm going to have to do a separate video on it, and I haven't figured out what that means. Basically, it says it on the front. Think small. Basically, you nudge yourself into making small changes to effectively make your big dreams actually start happening. And this also ties into other information I was receiving about SMART goals, which is like, if you're going to do something, make it specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time specific. So for me, that would be doing a Smiley show, in a week, which is completely possible if, my hours aren't all over the place. I almost didn't read this book at all because the foreword has the author talking about how they helped improve job center searches and helped people get jobs, and I'm like, I've been in the job center recently, they don't give a fuck. But what the book really got me on was this idea of behavioral scaffolding, where you effectively build the systems that will enable you to handle life basically fucking up your plans. The Pecha Kucha is one of those things for me, so I do know that this stuff works, but it's about building enough of these things that you actually get where you want to be. Probably the strongest thing in this book is this idea of a commitment referee. You tell someone you're going to do something, and you basically you write a contract with this person where there's an actual reward and an actual punishment for not doing this thing that you've said you're going to do by the date you've said you're going to do it. This shit does work, but you're going to do it right, otherwise it backfires. And speaking of backfiring, sad clown of the week this week is me, because I recorded all my images to use for this week's Pecha Kucha and then kind of deleted them on accident by purpose as I was doing a bit of house cleaning, basically deleting last week's images to make room for this week's images, and I deleted this week's images too, so I had to basically redo them. This is where behavioral scaffolding can be really handy, because all I wanted to do for about 45 seconds was just call the whole bloody thing off, but I'm like, no, I can't do that. That's literally not an option. So I had to swallow my pride and start from scratch. Character building. That's what we'll call that. Right, so I got to figure some stuff out. Probably the next time you'll see me is Pecha Kucha 181. So until then, that's the end of Pecha Kucha 180, and I'll see you next time.